Hello everyone, welcome to the episode 95 of SoLeadSaturday. The guest we have today, Dan McCrory, has written a couple of books and is a regular contributor to Conversationally Speaking, Daily Coast, and Thrive Global. His book, Capitalism Killed the Middle Class, 25 Ways the System is Rigged Against You, was a finalist in this year's Page Turner Awards for Outstanding Writing. One of the McCrory's poems appears in the 2020 anthology of California's Best Emerging Poets, and he is a quarter finalist, top 25% in 2021 NYC International Screenplay Awards. He lives in Southern California, so would you like to join me and welcome him on the SoLeadSaturday show? And let's just hear more about his career journey. How did he find his area of interest and managing to lead that? Hey, hi Dan. How are you doing today? And very happy to have you on the show.
Great, thank you, Vaishali. I'm happy to be on.
Yeah, thank you so much. Pleasure is all mine. And to begin with, we have our very first general segment, which is more about passion or the interest. So, how did you find your area of interest in the journalism and writing, and what motivates you to be where you are today?
Writing itself started when I was about 11 years old. I was in school and they wanted us to make up our own myth or legend. So I wrote this story about how the donkey got long ears. And the teacher liked it so much, he read it to the class. After that, I was hooked. So I've been writing off and on, all kinds of writing, anything you can imagine. Somebody would give me something to write, and I consider it a challenge.
Mhm.
And I recommend it for anybody who wants to expand their horizons.
Mhm. Wow. So thank you so much for sharing that. And yeah, that's true actually. When it is by interest, definitely you take the steps towards it. Moving towards our next segment, which is more about questions from the audience. And under that segment, we have our very first question, which is more or around, journalism actually, because you took your prior education also in the journalism. So can you think of any news story that you have read or watched on television, which according to your opinion was an excellent piece of journalism?
There's been a lot, especially recently, but let's see, what did I come up with? Um, One of the things I encountered myself was when we went on strike against the telephone company, against AT&T in 1989.
Mm-hmm.
There was a reporter who followed us around and saw what we were striking for, which was health care.
Mm-hmm.
And he did opinions on his station. He said, they're not just striking for themselves, they're striking for you and me. He understood the connection that a lot of people don't always understand, that what we're striking for, like you said, it wasn't just for us. It
Uh-huh.
was to set an industry standard. And so that I thought that was very important. And I'm seeing a lot of good reporting. I'm seeing a
Mm-hmm.
lot of bad too these days. But I think if we stick to our integrity and the facts of a story,
Mm-hmm.
we can do so much to educate and inform the public.
Okay, yeah. Because a lot of times it happens that, it is exaggerated than the original thing. So sometimes media take that advantage and, there is a lot of competition as well with the different news channels and everything. So I think it is very
That's
hard
very true.
to find that kind of a true story through the media channels. But thank you so much for sharing that.
That's true.
And yeah, and then moving towards our one more question under that segment is around your speech writing actually. So the question is, what skills have you acquired that make you a good speech writer?
Well, I think it's really important to find your voice, to
Mhm.
find what best for you when you're trying to communicate an idea or an issue to the general public or to a certain particular constituency. So to be focused in what it is you want to talk about, keep it at a maximum of 3 items, and yeah, 3 points. And tell them what you're going to say, then tell them, and then tell them what you told them.
Mm-hmm.
Because you want to get your point across, and you want to make sure that they walk away from what you had to say with a little more information in their heads.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's true, actually. So thank you so much for sharing. And when we think about the speech writing, right? Do you do the prior study as well about, like, what kind of
I'm sorry, I didn't.
like what kind of analysis goes under it when you are writing for, suppose, particular celebrity you are writing for? Um, what kind of
Well,
analysis goes under?
most of the most of the speech writing I've done has been for political candidates.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but you have to, there's a fine line there where you're coddling the audience, saying what you think they want to hear and
Mm-hmm.
what's part of you. So as long as you remain true, keep your integrity about what it is you want to say, even if they don't like the message, they are going to find something in it that they can identify with. That's so important.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's true, actually. And thank you so much for sharing. Moving towards next segment, which is more about fun or the relaxation segment. And here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you three keywords which are more or associated with your profile or the career, and you have to just tell me whatever comes to your mind. So it can be a abstract definition, it can be a replacement keyword, or after hearing all those three keywords, if you think about something creative, we are welcome to hear that as well. So, are you ready?
Okay.
So the first
I
word
think
that,
so.
yeah. So the first word we have is moreover related to your area of interest. So that is writing.
Writing. Writing means responsibility, means getting your point across,
Uh-huh.
and, and being able to tell a story well.
Wow. That is really good one, actually, because it is when you're writing, actually, I think it is very important that you convey the right message, as you mentioned in the speech writing as well, right? So it's
Yes.
very important that you consider yourself responsible about whatever is going out there. So thank you so much for sharing. Second keyword that we have is economics.
Oh, economics. That's a that one can actually bite you. Economics is there's so many ways to look at economics, and what I try to do when I educate about economics is find something for the common man
Mhm.
or woman to understand, something they can latch onto. It says, "Oh, I understand this much better now," because economics. Um, there's so many different schools of economics. There's so many different ways of saying different things. So that the same, if you're talking about, let's say, socialism,
Mhm.
socialism can be a scary word, or it can
Mhm.
be something where you show the humanity in people, society, that it's good for society. So if you can find a way to get that across, then you're much better than I am, actually.
Yeah, that's true. And the third keyword that we have is criminal injustice.
Ah, yeah, typically it's called criminal justice, but I call it criminal injustice because, as in India, we have a caste system in this country. Not many people are aware of it, but they try to keep you in your place. That's why my book is called 25 Ways the System is Rigged Against You, because um, the way that you move up in society is
Mhm.
sometimes blocked by those who prefer to have somebody underneath them. For instance, in the 60s, had the civil rights movement and all that. I lived in Texas and we didn't have people of color. Well, we didn't have black people in our schools. And it
Mhm.
wasn't until John F. Kennedy said, you must have them, must have schools integrated. And it was so important that to show that we were all on the same
Mm.
page, that everybody was going to be treated equally. And unfortunately, in our criminal justice system, we're not seeing that followed through. And there's a lot of problems that have been around for hundreds of years, and they're not going away unless we really focus and try to change.
Yeah, that is very true. And thank you so much. And it is more or like change starts with yourself. So first make the changes for your growth,
Yeah.
and then yeah, everything else will change according to that.
Mahatma Gandhi said it best. He said, "We
Yeah.
must be the change we wish in the
Yep. Yep.
world."
Yep. So thank you so much for sharing. Our next segment is more or about, a little bit of knowing you. So exploring your career work or volunteering. Here we have a question which you already mentioned in the earlier segment actually about your book. So tell us more about your book, Capitalism Killed the Middle Class, and what is it about and what message you have given. So already you mentioned a couple of things, but would like to know more about it.
Yes, people have uh, reacted to my book in different ways because there's so much in it. It's almost 400 pages. And I wrote it because I tried training the next generation. I wanted this to be my legacy to the next generation on what they can look forward to and also what they can be warned against. And so I tried first running for elective office, but
Mm-hmm.
nobody uh, to back somebody who didn't have any money, even though I had connections. But I was running against people who worked for congressmen, so they had all the power on their side, the status quo. So I had to think of another way that I could get my message out there. So I decided to write a book, and it
Mm-hmm.
was going to be more. But I realized that, well, today's people aren't going to maybe see me as being relevant to them. So I
Mm-hmm.
had to homework. I had to do some research, and I found the gig economy, universal basic income, plus the things that are held over from my day, like the criminal justice
Mm-hmm.
system. And I tried to tie it all together in a way that it was meaningful to folks because I'd be writing a chapter on, let's say, the trade, uh, uh, free trade versus well, the other kind of trade that we like NAFTA and all that. And I was doing research, and anytime I started to glaze over, anytime I started feeling bored, I said, "Oh, time to move on to the next chapter." Because one thing I didn't want to was a boring book. I wanted to reach out to common people.
Mm-hmm. Wow, wow. That's great actually. And definitely I would encourage audience to check this book whenever you get time. So thank you so much. And this is definitely a very great message to have out there through your book. Moving towards our next section, which is more about, giving tips and advice. So you can support your answers with your books and courses as well. So, any tips or advice you like to give to the students or the professionals who are looking to get into this particular space, journalism or writing, and looking this as their long-term career option? What would that be?
Find a good journalism school. That's so important.
Wow.
And
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, you need to explore things, not be afraid to be controversial, to be provocative,
Mm-hmm.
because one of the things I don't like about journalism, they say if it bleeds, it leads, and that's a crass way of looking at journalism. That says let's cover this car crash because people were killed, and that's not what journalism should be about. Journalism should be educating, enlightening, and informing folks. And if you can keep those three things in mind, then you'll be a much better journalist and constantly challenge yourself. That's another important thing.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's great. And now we are moving towards little closure actually, almost the closure segment, which is the leadership. And no doubt, actually, the way you are leading your expertise area. So it shows your leadership. So, what is your leadership style and any specific leader that you always follow or admire and why?
That's a good leader is someone who doesn't stand out in front and say, "Follow me." A good leader is somebody who says, "Walk beside me, and we'll do this together." That's what's important about leadership. It's
Mhm.
showing yourself as an example
Mhm.
and to always be um, humble. Humility is so important when you're a
Mhm.
leader there's going to be people around you that want to take over the conversation. There's
Mhm.
going to be other people that are afraid to say anything. And you need to draw those people out and make sure there's a good balance of folks around you so that you can be the best leader possible.
Yeah, that is very important, I guess, the way you are saying. And any
Yeah.
specific leader that you always follow or admire, and why?
I've always admired Muhammad Gandhi, Martin Luther King,
Mm-hmm.
Cesar Chavez. All those people led by example, and they led against great odds, and they were very inspirational. And that's another good quality of a leader is to inspire people.
Mm-hmm. Wow, wow, that's great actually. So thank you so much, share. Thank you so much for sharing. It was a quick, fun chat, but it is a lot more insightful as well to learn little more about journalism and the way you look into it actually. And
Thank
definitely appreciate all your time and consideration being on the show and the podcast.
Anytime.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.
All right, so this is about Dan and the way he's managing to lead his area of expertise. Before we close our today's episode, as we are talking a lot about journalism and writing, our today's quote is from Margaret Thatcher, and it is along the line of journalism. So it says, journalism is a career which demands the highest professionalism. It demands responsibility as well for the line between honest revelation and disingenuous sensationalism is sometimes perilously thin. So, on that quote, we are closing today's episode. See you guys in the next episode. Until we meet, happy leading. Let's lead together. Stay safe. Bye for now.